Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the second part of the ID Fresh case. And in the first part, we saw the formation of the company with least amount of resources. We saw effectuation in action, and we saw these three cousins. And they start with least amount of resources: who you are, what you know, and whom you know. They move to another city, and that complementary skills you see taking place, and they are set for a scale up, and they are set for a high growth mode. So let's try to understand how they grew and what lessons we can learn out of this growth model. So once again, there's a quick review. ID Fresh was born when the cousins started with a small investment, and their efforts were localized, and so shamsu used to prepare batter. And this is, you see, various pulses and rice. You just grind it, mix it with water, and you get this white liquid which you put in the frying pan. You get something like that, which can be used in a breakfast. And this is what is liked by South Indians. And the customer response was amazing. So within a month, they were selling like 100 kilogram a day, and in 3 months they were selling like 500 kilograms a day. And this were doing in a small place. Eventually they moved to a small factory. They got it leased, and then 10 kilometer away, but the capacity of 800. So they're just approaching the capacity. In early 2000 they reached 1000 kilogram per day. And you can see in like 5-6 months they had a 4 times jump, 4000 kilograms per day. And you see, Nazar, what is he explaining is that we realized that we could make a higher quality at a high quantity at a higher quality, and there was a large opportunity in Bangalore. So how to get more customers? Nazar explains that we got references from retail shop customers. So he had retail shops on his list, and from there, talking with them, making friends, smiling at them, and he was able to find new customers. Then he designed routes. So if he's like selling here, this is one route, one road, and the second road, and the third road, looking at various shops, one shop, second shop, what is the demand there? So collecting data, finding, observing, and experimenting, and he find out that a certain number of sale has to be done to get the break even. So you see, it's just a matter of 2007 is a very important year in the history of ID Fresh, as they were doing various experiments. They had to move to a bigger place because the capacity was further less. So in 2007, by the end, they were 6,000 kilograms per day. So it's 2007. So, and here what we saw is they achieved a very rapid growth. Very rapid growth. See, once again, it is just like in 2 years they've gone from 500 to 6,000. And so they decided, now they're a bit stable. They got the time to think and reflect. They had their own small general Kiryana store working in parallel. And then you see the creativity comes in, innovation comes in. So this is where serendipity and chance and luck, and we saw the working of the lemonade principle. During one of their visits to their own village, there was a small restaurant, and they found out that there are hardly any customers. And there are few people who were complaining to the owner that the quality of the food was very poor. And so they told them that his chef had left and didn't return. So on the way back, they again had a chance visit, and they found out that it was closed. So apparently this event is not linked, but they found an idea out of this experience. And these cousins, after discussion and thinking, they realized that if they could prepare parathas, paratha is a special bread, which is a special what we call roti or bread, which is oiled and with butter and so on, and it is used for a breakfast. So they realized that if they could prepare ready to make parathas using the right mix, they could really find a new place in the market. So made out of wheat or flour, parathas had a shorter shelf life, and Italy. So based on this insight, they produced semi-cooked parathas, and then they developed a packaging, a sealed packaging, and they provided to the retail stores, and that was a great hit. It became popular and it started emerging. So that is once again 2007, and in the same year, they got an idea to go to a nearby city, and Chennai was that city where they went, but they thought to go and expand and try this model there, the Italy thing and the Paratha thing, and what they found out was it was a very competitive market, different city with the different dynamics, and the challenging part was to get the right ingredients. And the reason was that the government had subsidized the ingredients of like rice and pulses, and it was helping the poor families. So they used to purchase fat less, and due to this there was a supply issue, and the price for the other people was high. So they found out that their business model is not going to work, as the pricing didn't deliver them enough money. So after 10 months of experimentation, they had to shut it down. So that's a failure. So this is what our students ask, sir. Please share some failure stories, which keep on doing. That failure can be in absolute terms, a comprehensive shutdown, but this is a partial shutdown. A project of the entrepreneurial venture is failed. So in a way, in parallel, by the end of 2007, you can see. So this cousin, one of the cousin who got a good score in his class 10, then 12, and eventually went into engineering, and then into MBA and business postgraduate in business. So he was looking at his cousins doing experimentation and selling and coming with a very new and interesting proposition. So that increased his curiosity, and you see, and maybe he was upset or sort of bored with his monotonous task in the corporate world. So eventually he felt inclined, and he had a leap of faith and left the corporate world and joined the fledgling startup on a full-time basis. And here is Mustafa. He doesn't come alone. He brings his wisdom, his learning, his experience, like developing systems and processes and institutionalizing systems in operations, finance, account, sales, and distribution. So Mustafa brings in a new, you see, flavor. The car is in gear 2 and 3, and they're heading towards the 4th gear. So they need somebody who can drive the car at a fast pace. So by the end of 2010, they left at 2007. They had like 6,000 kilogram per day. In the next 2 years, they went to 10,000 kilograms. Another big jump in one city alone. So the key success factors of this, you see, this achievement in like 5-6 years is enormous. Is that they were making it on a fresh basis, daily basis. The delivery was there, it was fresh, it was this ensured genuinely fresh products. Quality was there, time was timely, availability was there, and they were expecting cash. They didn't work on a loan basis. And when can you sell something on cash? When you have a quality which is extraordinary, the pricing is very competitive, and the commodity is very popular, and people are after it. So all these ingredients, they were able to, you see, get cash, and you see the management part, the accounting part. Here where Mustafa, his accounting knowledge and the control knowledge brought him to reconcile every sale with every production. So if this route has got this amount of kilogram, and these are various outlets on the way, if 100 kilograms went onto this route, and how much money was it collected, so that was reconciled in the registers, in the data, and that ensured working capital requirements. And they were able to work with the least amount of money, because you don't unnecessarily expend in inventory. When your forecast and the prediction is very close, you only spend as much money in the working capital as is needed. So as the company starts growing, 2011-12 is also another important year in this history of ID Fresh, when they start looking at hiring more people. So what do we look at when you hire people? So effectual hiring says that hire people who believe in what you believe. who think uh, who the belief system is very close to you. And where to find those people? You can find those people in your network, in your bird in hand. And so in this case, Mustafa found his former classmate, which we knew, the same frequency but different taste, of course, and he brought him in. And then Aitam, a huge ID Fresh fan who follows this and loves the products and has been curious what is happening, and so he believes what they believe. So he comes in. Masood, Mustafa's family friend, and they're knowing each other, and he's passionate about it. So these type of people start coming in. And 2011, they opened up into that is a very important year. So as ID Fresh moved beyond, you see they had a failed experiment in Chennai, but they moved into another city called Mangalore, and they opened for paratha production and sales. Then they went into Hyderabad and Bombay, and then eventually they went international. They went into UAE, and in addition to that, innovation starts coming in. And innovation in terms of product diversity, they looked at various other things happening in the world. They offered chutneys and sausages, and here what we call tomato sauce, and in a very different format. And then once again, that brought them to see some cash, some successes, and visibility. And then the biggest city, which was nearby, Chennai, they again reflected back. But now they reflected in a much better way. Mustafa is there, he is a business graduate, and he says, why don't we do some market tests? But not in a causal way, in an effectual way. To do it in a least resource, you see, with least resources, in a resource parsimonious way. They try to understand the market, identify customers for semi-cooked foods, and once again they did a pilot tests. They developed distribution routes, 12 in all, in some area, and the sales of the semi-cooked parathas picked up. And then eventually they started offering the same thing which they had a failure a few years ago. The feedback was good, and the team was able to gain a strong foothold in the market. And by this time, they found that they are being overburdened, and they need to work on the strategic part. They need to make things more professional. So they started distribution of work. And you look at the Nazar, the oldest person, the founder himself. He loves to work in the area of unknown and uncertainty. So he goes into the area of setting up production facilities and finding new avenues. So he takes the responsibility of the Bombay operation, which is emerging fast, and Ravindra will be taking care of that after he does the initial part, and he will then expand it further. Jaffer selected Chennai and Mangalore for sales and distribution channels. Aitam, who had been a part, was given the target of Hyderabad, and Masood, who was one of the family friends, was given the task of expanding into Dubai and getting international. So it's very interesting events kept on happening, and during this journey they found lemonades and surprises. In 2011 they were approached by Nilgiris, an Indian supermarket chain, and one of very, very promising, and they suggested that why doesn't ID Fresh produce dedicated for them. So ID Fresh looked at that proposal, and they said that why don't we do something interesting, and they proposed a co-branding. So on the product they will be having both names, Nilgiris and ID Fresh, a co-branding thing, and they will ensure reliable and quality products. So in a way, Nilgiris agreed, and they both combined, and that was a very interesting marriage. That marriage helped ID Fresh in an enormous way, as it became their pilot test to know their customers, to know consumer behavior, to understand the Indian people. And Nilgiris, and they could piggyback Nilgiris. And you see, ID Fresh had access to the database, and the database talks about the supply, the consumer behavior, the characteristics, and they could track the inventory levels. So that gives them a very, very fair understanding of the product and demand, and they could identify potential markets out of that. So this is one very interesting example of quilt collaboration of two various, you see, complementary companies. So you see, by the end of 2011, they were having 15,000 kilogram of batter. Another big jump from 10,000 to 15,000, and they had reached INR of 70 million rupees. INR, wow! And that is, you need to be happy. It was wonderful. 2006. If you see, if you quickly look back, and you see 2007, there were 6,000 kilograms. So 6,000 kilograms, and in just 4 years, they have doubled, more than doubled, approaching 3 times. So at that time, Mustafa receives a telephone call from the CEO of a large multinational, and he requests a meeting, and the CEO offers them to acquire ID Fresh for INR 600 million. And after, you see, and he says that if he will be willing to go up to 1 billion INR. Wow, look at this. They are willing to go for 1 billion INR. It was a great surprise. It was unbelievable for these people. The money being offered was great, fair value for the hard work of the co-founders. So you see, Mustafa says that he asked the CEO what made him interested into this proposal. The CEO says that there was a huge potential in the market, and the space was being dominated by ID Fresh, and the ID Fresh had taken over the space, and he said that his distribution system was not up to speed to capture this high potential. So the question arises that this multinational hires the best people, the most educated, the B school people, the engineering people, and best of the best accountants and strategists. So why is he complaining? So this is very important to understand, that even as you grow, as you become a multinational or you grow big, still you need effectual people. And effectuation is that force that gives you that continuous, you see, ability to continuously innovate and think and be parsimonious and use those creative things. So that's why we always say that causation, even in gear 4 and 5, as you're scaling up and getting bigger, effectuation has to be mixed with whatever your strategies. So in a way, they discussed, and after discussion and deliberation, you talk to your mentors and then the co-founders, and they politely refused, as they had the confidence and they felt that they would reach 1 billion themselves. So this story, it takes a very interesting turn, and look at these 4. You see, this is Jafar, this is Shamsu, Nazar, and Mustafa, the person who joined later, and the same picture here in the office. And then you see they moved on and ventured into online, they ventured into wagon-based selling and at various places. And you see the manufacturing facility. Look at this, the smiling and the high energy. These are school dropouts. It's India. And they look at the dress, the smiling faces, the safety, health, and environmental considerations. And you look at the lighting of this building. It's very well lit. Glasses are there, bulbs are there. You see the cleanliness, the ventilation system properly painted. It's giving a clean look, and people are wearing sometimes maybe gloves, but clean hands. There's a lot of sanitization going on in every room you come in, and it's a message of cleanliness and safety, and all those standards, operations, and procedures are there. So we will move into this interesting slide, that is the ethics and values things. And in the ethics and values things, we see that they were closely linked to the religious faith of the founders, closely linked, and which had been deeply forged into the culture of the company. So if you look at the values, that is amazing. They say that our value is to act with benevolence, with love, with compassion, and being of service to humanity. That is the reason for existence. This is what we're here for. And that explains, you see, volumes of their commitment, that how different they are. They're not looking at the bottom line. And one principle that was strictly followed was to not to avail any loans. It will be interest. They will not be charging interests, even in times of desperation. They ardently believe that these values and ensure these values are ingrained in the company. So Nazar explains that we objected to funds that charged interest. As charging interest was against the principles of other religions. So in Islamic point of view, it was a sin to take interest, loans based on interest. We could be a zero liability, debt-free company only because we had strong ethical principles. So why were they doing that? Look at this. We wanted to prove to others that it was possible to conduct a profitable business without taking interest-bearing loans. Wonderful. And they said that we want to break that myth that without money things cannot be done. We want to tell people that there is a super and divine force. And in Quran it says, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ, when you trust God Almighty, فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, then He solves your problems. He is with you. So it was their dream to take this faith-based spiritual message across the world and globe that, hey, gentlemen and women, act with benevolence, and serve the humanity, and then take small actions, and then you don't need any loan. Money will come to you. So this, very, very lovely message. And for the founders, remaining steadfast to their ethics and values was more important than profitable growth. They said values are more important. Nazar said, you will be tested by God to see how you react in difficult times. If you hold on to your principles, you'll end up always emerging as a winner in the eyes of God. And to remain a winner in the eyes of God, this is what is required. So when they asked about any example, Taj Group of Hotels wanted to use the Chile Diamond ships, and as a Muslim, as a believer, they got an offer of 3 million chips every month. But when they realized that their product would be going to be sold as a bar stack, accompanied with liquor, which was against their value system, so they decided not to take this lucrative order. So they believe in their values, and they're ready to bear the challenge. Even in their deal with the VC firm, as they wanted more money to grow, and there's a company called Helion Ventures in Delhi, and they had they were able to get some money, but with their own terms that was related to interest. They said, take that out. And Nazar proudly reminisced that the VC firm managed to give us a completely ethical deal on our terms. If you believe in something and you stand by it, you'll be able to cross the bridge and overcome any obstacle. So once again, that's a very strong message of faith-based and belief-based and commitment. So as the company further grows, they get money to grow. Helion Venture pumps in money like 350 million INR. Now they are thinking that they need to move from an organic company to a mechanistic company. They need to transition to a professionally run company. So what to do, how to do, so they make a think tank from within. So comprising the founders, there's no McKinsey, no consulting coming out, so the people from within. And the group was formed to work on the new business, developing new ideas, and the consultant group proposed to go for a home delivery model, which could be a game changer. And to start with that, they were recommended to go for a pilot test. And once it is proven, then they will be handed over to professionals. So Nazar and his team will do that because they have the capacity to work in unknowns. So that is effectuation once again. Even as a bigger scale, you continuously keep on need to doing small experiments. So the family-driven organization was gradually transformed into a professionally run organization, and Mustafa played a leading role, identified production, sales, and distribution as the critical functions to be headed by professionals. So once again, he got people who got the relevant education and experience, and they were reporting to regional geographical managers, which eventually reported to Mustafa. So we will go into further detail that this was a very, very tough and a very demanding journey to move from family-based model to a professionally run model. And the most important challenge they found was the management of processes and systems. So for example, if you're making paratha or bread, you need to know the various steps of the process. The process step A, B, C, D. And during each step, what is the inventory, what is the work, job description, inventory coming in, packaging. So all these things have to be considered, and then you can make a system, make a checklist or a thing which against people's work can be measured, and they can be key process indicators can be developed. And so Mustafa says that human resource management was a key function that needed a strong process-oriented approach. So you need to have the right process and then the right people and then the training to be more efficient. So, but in this case, the family business model, most of the employees were either related to the founders or belonged to the same village. So that was a founder bias was there, due to which they would lack in productivity. They could. But so going forward, Mustafa knew that unless the human resource management function developed a strong process, it would be difficult to attract high quality professionals. So here he tries to develop these systems and processes and eventually starts bringing in good people. And this dilemma was further exacerbated as the founders were also working as employees. So you are the owner as well, you are the employee drawing salary at various stages. So that makes things uncomfortable for other people. So these were some of the challenges which Mustafa had to go through, and eventually they came up with a board. And so if Nazar is the founder, if he is a board member, here he can give directions, suggestions to the CEO, and if their majority people say that has to be complied with. But if Mustafa is working somewhere, if Nazar is working somewhere down the hierarchy in a special project area, then he has to abide by the rules of the game, and the CEO is the boss. So this feeling and this understanding had to be brought in, and then when we see that these gentlemen, as they moved into, they brought more systems, processes. Let's look in the case of Dubai. So Asif Masood is taking care of operations, and the operations have further processes, production processes, maintenance, quality control. These are the team. And there's the HR person, the stores person, supply chain, fleet management, returns management, business development, S&D, sales and distribution. So in a way, so this is the Dubai function, the Dubai organogram, and then we have the accounts, the general facilities from across the group, accounts, projects and value management and product development, which is taken care of by Nazar. The unknowns. The unknown territory is still being held by Nazar. And we go into the West and North division, and there you see the hierarchy, system, procedures coming in. And we see that a company which started from a very humble beginning with 20,000 INR, and they found an opportunity from a general store or a tea shop, and then they find the opportunity to sell that, you see, dosa batter, and then we saw a serendipity into Paratha's manufacturing facility, and the company is ready for a big getting an offer of like 1 billion INR. So look at this, and what a transformation! What a transformation! So with this, we will be ending this part and see and evaluating part 3. We'll summarize the key learnings and see what happened further. Thank you very much.